Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Jacob, and today I would like to present you the Aurelia, new JavaScript framework that I think it's pretty cool. So I work for Microsoft, but I work for the new Microsoft. This is the new unofficial logo of Microsoft, the Ninja Cadon unicorn. And I work on the Azure Management Portal. Are you guys maybe using Azure? Okay. Are you using the new portal? The old one? Okay. Well, so try it out. We are getting more stuff there. We will still keep improving it. It works even in Tesla car. This is my friend Tesla. We were able to run it in the browser and work. I have a blog, jj09.net, so I encourage you to check it out and subscribe. I'm also on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Jacob Jedrzejczyk. You can also find it on my blog. I'm co-founder of online conference for .NET developers, .NET Conf PL. It was inspired by .NET Conf, created by Scott Hanselman and Javier Lozano. I am not only a developer, I'm also biking. Here I am at the Mount Evans. Here I am doing a STP this year. Have you guys done STP? Yeah, cool. And you guys all should do that. Pretty cool. Okay, so let's talk about JavaScript. So as you know, every year we have more than one JavaScript framework coming up, but we have some hotness coming every year. So this year is year of React. Last year it was Angular, and we don't know what will happen next year. But you know, like, there's even this website, how many days since the last JavaScript framework, and I check it today, and it's like 25 days since the last framework came in. So that's why I want to present you another one, Aurelia. But I think this time it will be a little bit different. So, you know, to get started with Aurelia, you can go to aurelia.io. So let me pull up my browser. Whoops, not this, not Hangouts. And here is pretty nice, clean website. And here there is this big button, Get Started. And here we have a tutorial how to create the apps, but in order to start, you need to grab this navigation skeleton project. So if you click on it, let me open this in new tab, it will redirect you to GitHub, and there is the repo. I will copy this link. I'll open my console, and Aurelia demo 1. And I will just clone this in here. Oh, okay, I cannot clone this. That's interesting. I've never seen this error. But I can also download this as zip. So I will, I'll do this. And I'll just unzip it to my directory. Say dev. Created this Aurelia demo 1. Okay, so I'll just grab it and copy it here. This is some sort of get started thing. And now once I have it, you see here I have some files, some default files. And at the beginning I need to, I need to do Npm Install in order to install all Npm packages Aurelia is using. Aurelia is not built on as a Node.js or on top of this. They just use npm to install their stuff. So while this is getting installed, maybe a few words about Aurelia. So this framework is created by Rob Eisenberg. He is a creator of Durandal framework, which was pretty popular, I think, like 3 years ago. And he wanted to create new, better framework, and he joined the Angular 2 team, and they were working together for some time. But then I think in November last year, he quit because they didn't really agree how they want to make this framework, and he said it was not possible to continue their cooperation. So then he started building Aurelia, and earlier this year I found on his blog, Rob Eisenberg, this Aurelia versus Angular comparison, and this shows sort of a difference between the philosophies, I guess, and yeah, Angular ends here. So he wanted to build a cleaner framework that allows developer to don't write up all of this boilerplate code, but have this done by convention by default, and developer can then later on customize if they need this. So I was very excited when I seen that. I was like, that's cool. The same in HTML side. Also the templating engine is much cleaner. So Aurelia currently is in version alpha, so nothing is yet finalized. They working towards the beta, which will be released hopefully by the end of this year. But there's already a lot of people excited about it. You can even check out the Github Repo, and I believe here the framework has already 4,000 stars, and this is only alpha version of the framework. So I think that's pretty good. Okay, so let's see if so yeah, this will install a lot of stuff. So in meantime, let me switch to slides really quick. So this is the list of things Aurelia is using. So Aurelia is built with ECMAScript 7, or currently you can call it ECMAScript 2016. So it's not JavaScript vNext, but it's what will be after vNext. So they're using all features of JavaScript currently invented, actually. And they are using the bubble transpiler to transpile ECMAScript 7 into the ECMAScript 5, so you can run it on the current browsers. I believe they have backwards compatibility all the way up to IE8, so this is pretty good. They also use npm to manage packages, and they also use JSPM. JSPM is JavaScript package manager. It's a little bit similar to Bower to manage your front-end packages, but it's aimed to work with ECMAScript 6. It uses System.js ECMAScript module loader. System.js is actually built on top of the ECMAScript module loader polyfill, and it allows you to use ECMAScript modules, CommonJS modules, AMD modules. I will show you later on. And they also use Gulp. In the skeleton project, you'll see they use Gulp to do compilation, to do auto refresh in the browser, and do a lot of automation that makes development experience even better. So, oops, it's not duplicated anymore. Duplicate. Hope now you guys can see it. Sorry for that. Duplicate. Okay. So here we are. Let's see how I'm doing. Okay, we are almost done. Okay, so in meantime, I'll just open this directory, and let's see what we got there. So this is Aurelia demo. Can you guys see it, or you might be? Demo 1, and my skeleton navigation master. So I will open the Sublime text, and here you can see there's a lot of stuff actually. In the source directory, I have startup files, but for now I'll just remove it, and I'll show you how to create it from scratch. So I'll create this folder. There's also test folder, and they show you how you can create a unit test for Aurelia. They are using Jasmine for that. So here you have some sample tests. You even have end-to-end test written with Protractor, which is a nice end-to-end testing framework. And here's the gulp file that actually saying that all configuration is in this directory, and here I have all the configuration that is watching for your changes, running the server that is hosting the Aurelia. Server is doing build is doing the transpilation to ECMAScript 5, and all stuff configured. Of course, you can customize this to your needs, but they done it for free, and it's pretty cool. You can right away get started. So the first file that is interesting is index.html. Here in the header there's nothing, just some CSS files. Here we have a splash screen, so this is what will be displayed when you run the app before the actual app will load. And here, this 3 scripts. So system.js to load the ECMAScript 6 modules, and the config.js, which is configuration file. And if you look at the config.js, here we have, for example, bubble options. So here they are saying, yeah, we are using ECMAScript 7 decorators or class properties. Here they're configuring the path and some other framework-related config. And you can see they're using GitHub as their source of libraries here. So getting back to index, the third thing is importing the Aurelia Bootstrapper module. So this is the module that will run your app. And here on top, you have the stack Aurelia app equals main. So that means that Aurelia will look for main.js file and will start up from this file. So let me add this file. Of course, you can change it. You can say like whatever here, my app, or whatever you want. I'll just stick to the default. So I'll leave the main.js one. I'll create new file, main.js. And here I need to create the ECMAScript 6 class. So I need to say export class or function. I have to say that configure. Sorry. Configure, and here I need to add some parameter. I can call it Aurelia, and here I can configure my app. So the easiest thing to do is just say to Aurelia use standard configuration. Standard. Thank you. Yeah, so, this is pretty cool. I'm speaking English. Aurelia use standard configuration. I really like this. And then you can say Aurelia start, and this will return a promise, which is embedded ECMAScript 6, which is pretty cool too. And once promise is returned, saying set root, and this by default will set my first screen to app.js file. And again, this is configurable. You can change it, or you can leave it like that. I will stick to defaults. So this is the minimum what you need to do to run the Aurelia app. So now I need to create my view and view model, and I'll create it in app.js and app.html file. So let me start with app.js. So here I need to just say export class app. I don't have to type anything here for the beginning. And I need to create a view for that called app.html. And Aurelia will know that these two are view and view models. You don't have to specify it anywhere. And here I can say template. Let's say hello Aurelia. Aurelia. I can type. And I can save it. And this is it. This is my view. Let's see if the installation ends. Hopefully, yeah, looks like it's done. After you install your npm modules, you also need to install JSPM packages. So I'll say JSPM install, and I'll answer yes for everything. This installation is much faster because already everything is downloaded here locally. Whoa, canon reserve space. That doesn't sound good. Hopefully everything will work. If not, I have a fallback option. Let's see. So once this is done, I can run gulp, and gulp should transpile all my files and run the server, and I'll be able to start my app. Okay, come on. Couldn't reserve. It looks like no errors, so that's good. Okay, come on. So everything is installed. So with JSPM you can install libraries like Twitter Bootstrap. You can install even, I think, jQuery. So whatever what you're using Power for, now you can use JSPM for that if you're creating apps with ECMAScript 6. So I hope these errors will not affect anything. Okay, looks like installation is complete. So I will say gulp watch, and this should compile all my files and kick off the server. Just give it a few seconds. Okay, so it's building, and here it gives me the URL where my app will be hosted. So I will open this in the browser. And this is my splash screen. And this is my view. So here's hello Aurelia. So this is what I typed, right? So this is just to get started. But what we want from a JavaScript framework, right? The first thing is we want to have a binding, right? Automatic binding, so we don't have to do write some jQuery by ourselves. So let's see how we can do this. So as in many presentations, first example will be to create two input tags, right, with first name and last name, and then display it as a string concatenated, right? This is what we always do. So I'll do the same thing. So I'll create an input type text for first name and for last name. So let me say first name, and here last name, and here I will say I want a concatenation of that called full name. Let me put it in bold tag to make it look nice, and I also say TT, and here I will use Aurelia templating engine. I will say $ curly braces, and here I will use the variable I will have on my view model. So this is my view, and now I need to bind my first name and last name to my input tags, and this is super cool how they figure out how to do this. So you know, an input tag, when you say value, right, you can assign some value in here, like first name, right? This will be displayed in input tag. What they did in Aurelia, if on value you say .bind, and here you put the name of your variable you have on your view model, this will be automatically binded. And the same I can do here, just change the value bind to last name. So let me save this. So my view is already done. And here I can create a constructor. And here I can say this first name equals Jacob, and this last name equals Jezushek. Okay, and I'll also create a getter for full name, and I'll return. Here I will use the ECMAScript 6 string template. Say this first name and this last name. Okay, so this is equivalent if in current JavaScript, if I do just this first name plus space this last name. This is just a new syntax that allows you to do it a little bit cleaner. Okay, so and that's it. That's all I need to bind my variables to my view. So let's see if this works. So let me open this, and you can see Aurelia automatically refresh my browser using the browser sync plugin. So here I have my first name, my last name. So, and now when I change it, the full name changes. I can say Rob Eisenberg. Okay, so this is how you do binding with Aurelia. Now let me do something more complex. So let's say I like to have this form, and I would like to add a button add that will allow me to add this name to the list and display it. So let me start from the view. So here I will, or maybe let's do this. So it doesn't look really pretty, and this is pretty nice framework. So I will use Twitter Bootstrap, which I have by default installed here in Bootstrap CSS. So I'll just copy this path and I will paste it into my index.html. Okay, so I have my Twitter Bootstrap CSS files, and I will make it a little bit more pretty. So I'll create a container. Here I'll create a form. I don't need any action for now. I'll just add class form inline, display it inline. I'll put my form in there. Okay, my first name and last name. I'll wrap this with a label tag. I don't need this. First name, copy this and say last name, and I'll add some class in here to make it better. I'll call it form control. Twitter Bootstrap is a pretty cool thing that you don't need to learn CSS anymore. You just need to learn the Bootstrap classes. This is nice. Okay, so I have this, and I can see how this looks like. You see here Aurelia is refreshing automatically for me. So let me add the button. So I'll say button create. Here I am using the Zen coding plugin in Sublime. And here I will say create. And on the button I will create a click action dot trigger. So that means if I click my button, I want to trigger action on my view model. Let's say I will call it create. And that's pretty much what I need on my view side. So now on the view model, I'll just say create. And here, let's say I'll create a people array, and I will push for simplicity, I will just push the full name. I could create a class, store first name, last name, but just for simplicity, I'll just store their full names. And here I will just initiate this people array to empty. And this should work, but I need to also display it. So here on top, I will create another div container, and I'll create a list. And in order to iterate over the list in Aurelia, you do it on the element which you're repeating. So this also reads like English. I say Lee repeat for equals person of people, because people is name of my array, and I'm using of. This is also ECMAScript 6 syntax that allows me to iterate over the values, not over the keys in array. So I'm using this here, and here I will say person. So let me save this and refresh my app. And now if I say create, you see this is going to the list. I can say Rob Eisenberg, say create, and it's adding this to the list. So you have adding. Let's add also removing from the list, because why not? So next to my person, I say I will need to add a button. So I say button, and here again I'll say click equals trigger, and I will call it delete. And here I will provide the index of this element, and Aurelia by free is providing you index by on like $index a variable. And actually here I need to also say dollar parent, because delete function is also on my view model, and here I am sort of in scope of a particular person, the item I am iterating over. I hear they want to change it, that you won't have to say parent anymore, but for now you just have to do this. So now I need to create my delete function here. So I say delete index, go with my parameter I pass there, say this people, if I can spell, splice index 1. So this should remove one element. And I'm going back to my browser. It's already refreshing. So if I add one element, oops, I forgot to add some label to my button. Say delete. Okay. Okay, so I add this and I can delete it. I can add more stuff. I can also delete it. So we have adding and deletion. So let's also add editing, and we'll have full CRUD app. Okay, so for sure I need to add a button again. So I'll just copy this one, and I want some edit function on this. All right. Again, I'm going back to my view model. I am adding edit function, which is similar like my delete. And here I need to have some sort of logic to identify the element. And on my view, I would like to display the input tag, right? When I can, change the name, and then also display different button when I am editing, so I can click save to save my changes. So here I will say this editing equals index. So this is how I will identify which element I am editing. And I will also initiate this with undefined. So I'm not editing anything at the beginning. And I will also say this new value equals this people index. So this will set my new value. This value will be on my input tag. So then when I click save, I can reuse it and assign new value to my array. So let me do this. So first thing I need to do, I need to create sort of like two different subviews when I am editing and I'm not editing. And I will do this using show.bind binding. And here I can type JavaScript. So for example, I can say $parent.editing, and I can say if it's equals to index, that means I am in editing mode. Okay, so whatever it's here will be during I am on editing. And I'll also create another span. You can also do it in many different ways here. This is just the simplest. So this is what I want when I am this is what I want when I am not editing. So I say the editing is different than this index. So I'm just displaying my name and I am showing button edit. And when I am in edit mode, I want to display input tag, which I bind the value to parent.new value I created. And I also want to have a button here where I say save. Okay, so this will save my new value into people array, but I need to create this function actually. So I say save, again index, and here I need to say this people of index equals new value, and I also say this editing equals undefined because I am not editing anymore. So if I did everything correct, my Aurelia will refresh, create this. Okay, so I have edit here, I click it, I have input tag, I can change it, and I click save, and nothing happens. Okay, so I did something wrong. Let's see, new value is not defined. This, oh yes, this new value. All right. So let's refresh one more time. create this, edit, do some change, save. Okay, boom. So I can add another. I can still deleting. I can still editing. So I just created a full crude app in I guess 15 minutes, and I didn't have to do any explicit binding. Everything is working behind the scenes by default. You just need to stick with the convention, and it use ECMAScript 7, which is pretty cool because you don't have to write a lot of JavaScript. You just write a few lines of code. So, but binding is not the only feature we want, right? We also would like to have routing, but we can have it this single page app, right? So we can switch between our pages, our views without reloading. So let's see how we can do this. So here in my app, I will move my entire app to new file, and I'll call it people.js. I'll paste it here. I'll change the name of the class to people, and I will do the same with my HTML view. So say people.html. I'll click save, and I'll close it because I will not be changing this. But here in app.html, I will say router view, and this will be displaying my my view. And here in app, I can get rid of all of this. And the only thing I need to have here is configure router function, which takes two parameters, config and router. And here I am saying my router here. This is sort of dependency injection behind the scenes working here. And on config, I say map, and here I need to specify array with my routes. So I'll create my first route. This is a object with properties route. The route property is the name of the route that will show in my URI. And here, for my default one, I want to create two. The first one will be just empty string, so by default, go there. And also I'll call it people. So if somebody explicitly will go there, redirect him. I also need to set the module ID. Also set it to people. I also need to, actually I don't need to, but I want to because I will reuse it to display my menu. I'll create a title, and I'll capitalize this. And I'll also use the parameter nav. This means that display this route in my navigation. So okay, so I have this, and I think by default this should already work. So if I go back to app, you see I have my default view displayed, but I cannot navigate, right? So I need to add navigation here. So here I'll add the nav bar. Let's see how oh yeah. Okay, so nav, all cool Twitter classes. So here I will say div container fluid. So I'll have cool styled navbar. I'll add a header. I'll call it my app. And here I will add a list. Say class nav bar nav. And here I will say li and repeat.for, and I will iterate over my routes. So I'll say item of router.navigation. And here I will create the anchor tag. An anchor tag is the same like with inputs. You just say href.bind. And here I say item.href. This property will be on it. And here I'll do item.title. And this should give me my routes displayed. Okay, so I have people here. So let me add a new page. So I will add a, let's say, about.html. I'll create a template here. Say this is about page. Close template. Also create the view model for that, about.js. And here I say export class about. I want add nothing here. I just need to add this to my routes. So I'll need to create a new route. So I'll just copy this. And I don't need any more two routes here, only one. So I'll say about here, and about here. I click save. Go back to my app. And now I have about as well. And if I click it, I can switch between my apps. So this is the second feature of the framework it's mostly used. Another one is to have nice HTTP client that will allow you to call some external API to get your data, right, and later on display. So I think what I will show you how I can get my repositories from GitHub API, because this is free API. I won't have to create it. So I'll add a new, not new folder, just new file called github.js. Here I'll export class GitHub. And actually, before I use HTTP client, I'll need to install it with JSPM because by default it's not installed. So let me stop a gulp here. I say JSPM install Aurelia HTTP client. Click enter. And it should be done fast. Okay, it's done. So in meantime, here I'll use the ECMAScript 6 module loading. So I say import inject, because I want to inject my HTTP client into my class. So I say inject from Aurelia framework. And here I import my HTTP client from Aurelia HTTP client. And here I say add inject HTTP client. And this will work like dependency injection in C# or Java. So now when I create constructor, and here I'll add a parameter, HTTP. This names does not need to match. It will just provide this as a first parameter. So here in my constructor, I say this HTTP, and I'll assign it to this. And I will have my HTTP client injected into my class. And I could make a call in my constructor, but Aurelia has this activate method, which allows you to delay the DOM rendering before some actions are done. So for example, it will not render empty list, then do call, and then render again the full list. It will just wait until this call is completed, and then it will do rendering. So this will give you some performance. So here in activate, I will say return this http.get, and here I need to provide a link to my API. So I think it was https api.github.com/users, and that's my username, and repos. I think that should, just to make sure, let me open this in browser. Okay, yeah, so this will return me a JSON with my repositories. And this, let me do this maybe, you can see it. And this will return a promise with result. And here I'm using the arrow function, another ECMAScript 6 feature. And here I want to say this repos equals result.response. So I'll say my response to my repos property, but this will return a JSON, and actually don't want JSON. I would prefer JavaScript objects. So I would say json.parse, which is already in current JavaScript version. This is nothing new, and that's it. This should allow me to perform this call. Let me make it maybe smaller so you can see it all. So I'm just getting data from URL, I'm using the embedded promises in ECMAScript 6 to get the data. So now I need to add the view for that. So I suggest new file github.html. And here again I'm creating template. This template tag are from HTML5 spec. But this is how it should be done, and Aurelia is following this. And here I will just say h1 title my repos, and here I will display it like I was displaying everything before. So repeat dot for equals repo of repos, and here let's say I'll add anchor tag href.bind. I think there was HTML URL, so I'll have URL of my repo, and here I have repo name. Let me save that, and also let me add this to my routes. So again, I'll copy this, I'll say GitHub here, I'll say GitHub here, and GitHub here, save, and oh, let me run gulp watch again. I turned it off when I was installing the Aurelia HTTP client. Okay, so this should build. Okay. Oh, it's not refreshing. To refresh it manually now. Okay, I have my GitHub. If I go there, this is my GitHub repos, and even I think links are working. So this is how we can use HTTP client embedded in Aurelia. You don't have to use jQuery Ajax calls. It's already there. So I have a few more minutes. So the last thing I would like to show you is how to create the reusable component in Aurelia. And this is a pretty cool feature. And I think this is what we all want to do now in our apps, because now the web is moving towards the idea of web components. So you have like a set of reusable components, and many times you have your page, you want to have, let's say, like some login somewhere, right? And you want to display it across all your different pages. You want to just reuse it. You don't want to create it all over on all pages, right? And sometimes you don't want to have the same master page and just change the views, but sometimes you want to have different master page and embed this login over there. So in order to do this with Aurelia, let's say I'll move my navbar. So I'll move this to a different view and view model. So remove it from here. I'll say new file .menu.html, and here I need to create a template. I'll paste this here. Okay. I'll also create a view model for that, of course. And in the view model, I'll import bindable from Aurelia framework. And this is using ECMAScript 6 annotations. And in my class menu, I can say add bindable router. And by default I say null, but this will allow me to bind something to router in my view site. So now if I go back to my app.html file, so in here, first I need to say require from menu. I'm sort of importing my menu module here. And here I'm saying menu because that's the name of my tag, that's my your reusable element. And here I can say router.bind, and I'll bind it to router, which is already in this view in app.js. Because otherwise menu will not know nothing about routing, right? Because this is just one isolated component. So once I did that, I'll go back to Aurelia skeleton. Whoa. Did I? Where?
Main.js.
Main.js? Menu? Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you for that. So let's save that. Okay. And you think something happened here? You can see that, right? Because if I inspect this element, and if you look at the DOM, I have extra menu tag surrounding this. You can have it if you want to. You can also get rid of it in here. I can set containerless. So that means it will not display this parent container. It will just display whatever is inside. Let's see. And now I have what I had before. So, and this is it. I have a reusable component. I can also create other components in this way. There's much more. I encourage you to go to Aurelia.io because this website is super cool. They have nice documentation. Everything is on one page, and what I particularly like is, like, let's say I click route. I search for router. Here's an entire section about the routing. Sometimes, for example, if you look at the, let's say, skeleton app, you see there is let's see, for example, standard configuration, right? What this is doing. So I can go to documentation, search for that, and here I have a description for that. You can also see some other options you can use here. You see I can add plugins. So if I search for plugins here, they describe everything, how to use plugins. The only thing to be aware of, it's still changing because it's still in alpha version, so breaking changes are pretty often. And also make sure that if you're first time trying it, update your npm to the latest version, because they are developing with latest version of everything, and sometimes things cannot work. So update npm, update JSPM to the latest version, and just download the skeleton app from GitHub Repo. You can do git clone, you can download this as zip. There's also Yeoman generator for Aurelia, I think. When I tried it recently, it was almost working because, again, breaking changes all the time, right? But I believe later this year there should be the beta version, which will be pretty stable. I talked to Rob Eisenberg recently, and he told me that currently they are putting much effort in stabilizing API and to improving the documentation, so it can be better and can get people started even faster. So go back to slides really quick. So here's the resources you can check out. So Aurelia.io. There's also a cool Pluralsight course by Scott Allen, building applications with Aurelia. It's an overview of what I show here, plus some more stuff in there, how to do more customization, more things, how to, for example, do bundling and minification, because Aurelia is using a lot of libraries, so if you try to download them separately, it downloads like 100 or 200 different files, right? So we'd like to bundle it into one, and then it's pretty quick. If you're not familiar with ECMAScript 6 or ECMAScript 2015, because they changed the name, also check out the JavaScript fundamental for ECMAScript 6. And on the bubble.js.io, this is the Bubble compiler website, there's also an overview of ECMAScript 6 2015. It's pretty cool, actually, because they, let me put it up, bible.js.io. And here's Learn ECMAScript 2015, and they have, very briefly, they say what is arrow functions, how classes works. Oh, damn! Thanks. Sorry for that. Yeah, I know I am losing. It's probably PowerPoint. Okay. So, yeah. So here it is, the Bible.js.io. And here I have very briefly all ECMAScript 6 features you see. You don't need actually more to understand how classes works, templates, strings I showed you. So this is very cool stuff. We are moving forward with JavaScript. That's pretty cool. I think Aurelia is a pretty cool framework. There is also Angular 2 on the way. I believe next year these two will be competing to be the new hotness. So that's everything I had today. So thank you very much.